Morning, Myra. How are you?
Good morning. Whoops, do you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I don't hear me. I usually get some feedback from my speaker, but I don't have any. Okay, well, every day is a new day with computers.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing okay.
You're doing okay. You don't sound very convinced.
Well, we have a lot of things on our agenda today, and I
Yes, we
have back-to-back meetings. Um, so yeah,
this is a very power-packed agenda, actually.
right.
Has a lot of important things on it. And I hope we can manage the time. That's going to be the hardest part. But see if I'm up to the task. Also, I think a couple meetings ago, we talked about if you could send me all the minutes from this
Sure.
year so we can put together uh, we have to write a report.
Okay.
And I hope it doesn't have to be extremely detailed. I hope it's just an essential filled in outline.
hmm
Do you know?
So I think it's up to you how you construct the report. The Human Rights Commission also prepares a report. Theirs is generally a couple of pages, and I can send you like their report from last year, just so that you can see the structure. But the structure of it is really up to you. Good
Yeah.
morning,
Oh, and it could
Sarah.
either be by date or by theme. So yeah, I thought about
Yeah,
that.
right.
I thought of making it by theme because that would make more sense.
Right, and that's generally what the HRC does as well by theme. So yeah.
Yeah. And then so if we could um maybe you and I can meet at one point to come together about what themes I should write about.
Okay.
And I assume it's due July something.
There hasn't been a hard and fast date, after the beginning of the new fiscal year, but I think sometime in July. The other thing that I'm making notes to myself to ask Athena, the HRC typically meets with the town council at some point. Um, and I don't know if you're interested or whether,
Meets with the
they
town council.
right. So the HRC on an annual basis prepares a report that's given to the town manager and the town council. That was written into their bylaw.
Okay.
But I think there's probably some flexibility there as this being the first year of the boards serving as a commission. I'll go back and take a
We have
look
to
at
go
the,
look it up.
yeah,
I don't know that it says anything about the town council.
I'm not sure it does. It may just say to the town manager.
Yeah, I think that's
Mhm.
what it says.
Yeah. So,
Okay. Somebody else came in, but I didn't hear who
yes.
it was. And I don't know that
Hello.
I have access to the list, do I? Oh, yeah, open participants. Let's see.
Hi, I'm Sarah Gevertz.
Sarah.
I'm
Mhm.
with Payette, an architecture firm in Boston, working with Amherst College.
Aha. Okay, cool. Welcome to the meeting, which
Thank
hasn't
you.
begun yet.
Thank
Mhm.
you. I'm looking
Oh, and
forward to
there's
this.
a colleague of yours,
Not yet.
Peter.
Yeah.
Who is Peter?
Good morning. I'm Peter Flinker. I'm consultant on the town's downtown design
Ah,
standards
okay.
project.
Got
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, wow, everybody's here for all of this.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we're going to have to move items around.
Right. So it's right now there's only three
Three. Right,
commissioners
right.
here. So we're waiting for a few other people to join in. And we have a large number of folks scheduled to be on this Zoom call, actually
Yep.
15 in total.
Whoa. Okay.
So we will, once folks sort of pop in, I will open up the meeting and then the chair can make a decision about which of the agenda items to address first. So, all
Okay.
All right.
Well, other people, I suppose, can either come back at a time certain, hi Amber, or they can just mute.
Right,
I don't
right.
I don't know
Yeah,
how they want to handle it, but
yeah. We can give folks the options to
right,
just go off camera
right.
and mute themselves as we go through the agenda, or they could
Yep,
come back at a certain time. But we're still waiting for additional commission
yep.
members to pop in.
Speaking of camera, my chair has one of these things that you pull up and it goes up, but it keeps falling down. So I have actually no idea if I'm in the camera or not.
So you are in the
I am in
camera.
the camera.
Yeah.
No matter
So
what I do to this chair, it keeps falling down to the
mm,
lowest level. It's funny. I mean,
yeah.
not so funny, but annoying.
Mhm.
I guess it's old.
Yeah. So welcome everyone. We're just waiting for a few more commission members to pop in, and we should be able to begin the meeting at that time. Um,
I think Rachel Bellinger is with Amherst College Project. Is that right?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, yay.
mhm.
There's a lot of people. I'm trying to sort people out. We are
This
missing.
is Peter Flinker again. I'm happy to wait. Looks like you got a bunch of people here to talk about Amherst and some of the other things. So
Okay.
whatever you'd like to do, I can do some other work
Okay.
and just listen in until you're ready.
All right.
All right. So
Thank you.
we haven't officially started the meeting yet. We
We
need at least two more members of the commission to join us, and then we'll review the agenda, and the chair will be able to make a decision about the order of the agenda items. So,
Very good.
yeah.
I have a feeling that we would put the downtown design on probably for 12:20 or 12:30. Um, and it would seem like, unlike with some of our previous variances, I think this one might be relatively simple. Oh, we have Ian now, so we have
Mhm,
one more person.
mhm.
And wait, we have you and me and
Yeah, we have
Ian.
four, so we could,
Who is
we
the
have four.
fourth?
So you and I, we have Reginald and we have
Oh,
Ian.
Richard. Okay. Okay. Great. Okay. All right. I suppose we could start. Why
We
not?
could start. Okay. All right. So welcome everybody. The Commission for Persons with Disabilities is meeting virtually pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 extended through June 30 of 2027. The ability of public bodies to meet in a fully remote or hybrid manner. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so via Zoom or by telephone. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time. Uh, Our agenda, I'll just go over the agenda, Myra, and then turn it over to you for the
Okay.
roll call. So the agenda for today is the roll call. Under old business, we have the Disability Pride Celebration. We have an update on the Munson Library ADA changes. Under new business, we have the Amherst Downtown Design, Amherst College Variance Request, and approval of the minutes. And then
Okay.
a fourth new business item was added to include an update on the Transportation and Parking Subcommittee that Ian serves on. So with that, Myra, I will turn
Okay.
everything over to you.
All right. Thank you to all the visitors who are here. I think what we're going to do is, um, hmm, the Amherst College variance would be the logical place to start, but the people for whom that would be lived experience involved actually are not on this call right now. And I don't know, I mean, I have no information that they're not going to be on this call. But
Myra, sorry, just a point of order. Do we need to do the roll call first?
oh yeah, I
The
guess
normal
I'm
one.
just thinking out loud to see what to tell the guests. Um, at the moment, yeah, we can do a roll call, but it's going to be incomplete. Hopefully people will come in the next minute or two. So um, I think we could probably deal with, is your parking thing time sensitive in that something has to be determined by us, Ian?
The next meeting is tomorrow. I
Okay,
so it's kind of time sensitive.
okay. All right. Given the importance of the Amherst College variance and who isn't here at the moment, I think we'll start with that. Okay, so we'll do a roll call. I'm Myra Ross. I'm the chair. And Ian,
Present.
you want to use your full name so people
Sure.
know?
Ian Rodewald, Commissioner, President.
Okay. And Reg?
Yes, present. Reggie, Andre.
Okay. And Pamela.
I am Pamela Young. I'm present as well.
And she's also the all important secretary. Um, okay. So I think right now I really want to wait a few minutes. Ian, do you want to go through the things that are coming from the parking commission? It's not a parking commission. What are they calling it now?
TPC, Transportation and Parking Commission.
Transportation and Parking Commission. Okay, so if you can quickly underline, go, oh, here's Saren. Okay, go through the things that are relevant to us for tomorrow's meeting. That would be very helpful.
Sure. So there are, let me just pull it up. Hold on a second.
Saren, we're going out of order. In part because I think I want to have everybody here for the Amherst College variance, and there are two people missing. And
Okay.
so hopefully Ian can get through this quickly because we have a lot of things on this agenda and a lot of guests.
Yeah. So there's two proposals before tomorrow's TPC meeting, Transportation and Parking Commission. One is related to North Pleasant Street sidewalk and parking improvements around Kendrick Park. There's some background that was included in the documents that Pamela sent out. The specific changes, there's three specific changes that are being proposed. Adding a sidewalk on the Kendrick Park side of North Pleasant Street, from Halleck Street to McClellan Street. I think that's up near where in December Boy Scouts sell Christmas trees, give or take.
Okay.
For geoplacing. This sidewalk addition completes the sidewalk loop around the park envisioned in the original Cecil plan.
Okay. So that's the first one.
Yeah, that's
Does
A.
anybody object to that? I can't imagine why anyone would. So that's okay with everybody?
Yes.
Reg,
Yes.
Ian? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Oh,
And Jim
and
is here
Myra,
now too.
Jim's here now too.
Yep. Yep.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay. So go on to the next one.
B, replace the sidewalk on on west side of North Pleasant Street.
Any objection to that one? Heck no.
No.
Okay. And the next one?
And then C, remove 2 parking spaces on the east side of North Pleasant and add 4 parking spaces on the west side of North Pleasant.
What
Does
kind
anyone
of
have any comments about
place?
that? Go
I
ahead,
have a
Sarah.
question. What kind of parking places are being removed? Just the standard ones?
That is a good question, and I don't know the answer to that.
So I
Yeah,
guess what we want to know is what's the net on the handicap parking spaces, if
the
any?
impact on that. Yeah.
Um, so is there a net increase or net decrease? And is it possible for the people, if they're moving them to the east side or moving them to the west side?
Um, uh, Removing 2 from the east side, adding 4 on the west side.
Okay, so the businesses, they're moving them to the where it would be easy to get to the businesses and you have to cross to get to the park.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone have if there's a net increase, I mean a net decrease of HP spaces, I guess we'd want to know about it, but otherwise,
Yes.
does anybody object?
I will not object unless there's a decrease in HP places.
Okay, so that you should report that.
Okay.
I think that would be pretty much held by this committee, this commission, that we would not like there to be a decrease.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Do we need to ask if the sidewalk has any ramp entrances, or is that
I think it's pretty
They
much going to
should.
be required if there's a
Yeah,
crosswalk.
they should. Yeah.
okay?
There's
Okay.
going to be a crosswalk to get to the park. So
Okay.
they have to have one. But it's an interesting question as to where the ramp um, would be, but it's not that big a place. I
And
mean,
that may already be in place.
I
I don't know
think,
if this
yeah,
new
I think we
sidewalk.
all also talked about this at one point a long time ago and
Yeah.
gave them our feedback. Uh, my only question is always about bike lanes and where do they put them? But that
Right.
isn't in anything that they talked about. So I'm interested in bike lanes not being on sidewalks.
Right. Right.
I mean, for me, that's pretty critical that you do
Yeah.
not have the bikes on the sidewalks.
Yeah. So the second proposal is on West Street, from Mill Lane southerly to 98 West Street. Um, when the paragraph of background, when the West Street Bridge over the Fort River was placed with the existing concrete bridge, the sidewalk was left in the original roadway layout. This sidewalk includes a pedestrian bridge over a stream. The pedestrian bridge needs to be replaced. There is severe corrosion of the deck beams and the surface has become uneven. The sidewalk is also not lit and is set back from the roadway.
So they're taking out the bridge and they're going to move the access. They're going to move it essentially to the roadway and they're going to put a wider sidewalk there.
That's what it sounds like. Here's the one, two, three, four, five specific changes. Um, Move the sidewalk closer to West Street. Should I go through all of them and then
Yeah, no, I think we read them.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so the question is, I mean, my question is just to clarify, is the actual place where you're going to walk going to be exactly adjacent to the roadway without any green between? And is it wide enough so that it's not even an issue? I assume it's going to be, it seemed like it was going to be a wider sidewalk. But I don't really know the configuration. But as long as it's not a tiny little sidewalk, um, they didn't give us any of those specifications, so we don't know those.
Right, right.
So in the future, we'd like those specifications because they're putting the sidewalk adjacent to a highway.
Right.
That's why I want to know.
Yeah. B, provide better access to the existing bus stop.
Yep.
C, reduce the amount of asphalt in the riverfront area by removing the old sidewalk and converting some of the existing roadway shoulder into sidewalk. So that sort of answers a bit of your question.
Right. But it says some of the existing.
Right.
And so I don't know what the plan is going to be. And I don't know if it's going to be a shoulder on the road, whether it's going to be a bike lane, whether it's going to be a grass And I guess, so in the future, I'd love information like that.
Yeah. D, removing the existing sidewalk and pedestrian bridge. I believe that's the bridge that's separate from
Yeah.
the roadway. And then E, improve visibility of the existing crosswalk on West Street by adding RRFB pedestrian crossing lights. And I believe that's rapidly something.
Rapid flashing beacons.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Does anybody object to any of that?
Well, I have a question about removing the pedestrian bridge. Why are they doing that instead of, because it's very pretty, and why don't they look into fixing it?
Money would be my guess.
That'd be my guess also. I
It's a nice bridge, but it's not in good shape. Yeah. And I guess they're trying to make it back to nature without the bridges crossing. I don't know. But as long as we can get across and as long as they're not disturbing the river, I think it's about money. It's always about money.
And there's no information given.
No.
Behind the reasons.
No.
All right. Do you have the information from us that you need, Ian, to take back to them?
Yeah, almost. So there was one question I was trying to note down. I can follow up with about the notes in this later, but I think you had said, Myra, will the place where you walk be wider? Was that what you were asking about in terms of the sidewalk?
Yeah, because I was just trying to find out if the sidewalk was wide enough so that the fact that it's adjacent to the roadway is safe. That's all.
Okay.
I wanted to make sure that there's enough room because there's a lot of people walking there. Or at least not a lot, but people do walk there. And I wanted to make sure that it was safe. And I don't know again about a bike lane. There is a bike lane on that piece of road, but I don't know where it is, and I hope it's not on the sidewalk. So again, I guess for me, it's about bike lanes on the sidewalk and safety for pedestrians. We like the rapid flashing beacons. I do anyway.
Yeah.
And so his charge is transportation and parking, and aesthetics probably doesn't enter into it, Saren. Okay. Anyway, can we move on? Do you have enough from us?
That's great for me. Thank you.
Okay. Let's go to the Amherst College
Thank you, Anne.
presentation, because we have a lot of people here who want to talk about the request for variance on the observatory at Amherst College. And you sent us materials about what you want. You want a curved staircase instead of the straight, and you need to use an inclined lift, which I don't know what that is, as opposed to a vertical lift. So if you can explain that to us. I mean, apparently you don't have room to do what the recommendations would be otherwise, right? Well, you want to introduce yourselves, actually, Amherst College people?
Absolutely. Thanks so much. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. My name is Rachel Belanger. I'm a capital projects manager at Amherst College. I'm joined today by Sarah Gewurtz and Allison Dobberton from Payette. They're the architects on this project, as well as Joe Ostrowski from Code Red Consultants, who's worked with us on the variance application, as well as other aspects of this project. Really appreciate your time. This is an informational presentation about the variance application that we recently submitted, and happy to answer any questions that you have. I have a presentation to share if that's
okay.
All right. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Does it look like it's sharing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, this presentation is on our new Science Center Observatory Dome. And we're summarizing the application that was recently submitted for variance requests. I'm going to start with just a brief project overview. The proposed project is a rooftop dome that's going to be used by Amherst College's Physics and Astronomy Department. It'll be used in multiple ways. It'll be used in research, in teaching, and in community events. The project is located on the roof of an existing building, our science center that opened in 2018. The address of that building is 25 East Drive. The new dome will expand an existing observatory. So we have an area that we already call the observatory, and that has 5 outdoor telescopes. Those are on the roof. They're accessed through the building and in a fenced roof deck area. I'll talk about that a little bit more as I go through the plans. The new observatory is a 20-foot, 6-inch diameter dome, and that will house a much nicer, more powerful telescope than what we currently have that will enable all of the teaching and research. And this project is slated for construction in the fall. Just to talk a little bit more about the location.
Rachel, I'm going to interrupt just for a second to remind you that a couple of the members of the commission have low or no vision. So if you could describe the photographs that you have on display so that everybody understands, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. In the project overview, I have 2 photographs. One is of the existing observatory with the 5 outdoor telescopes. They're enclosed by boxes, so we don't actually see the telescopes. But this shows the flooring of that area, which is concrete pavers, and they're surrounded by a metal fence. In the second image, I'm looking, I'm still on the roof deck and facing the location of the new dome, which is right now just a functional roof area that's not accessed by students or faculty, and has some existing HVAC equipment. On to the next slide, I have just another image to show the project location. It's on the east side of the existing science center, which is on the east side of campus. So in this image, we're facing west. And just for those who aren't as familiar with the building, it's 4 stories high. And there's this penthouse level that's set back a little bit. So it's not the highest level of the roof, but it is on the roof. Our goals for this meeting are—
Is that where the observatory is going to be, on the penthouse level, or is it higher?
Yep, it's on the penthouse level, which is the rooftop that's the second to highest roof.
Okay.
So again, our goals for this meeting are really just to tell you more about our pedagogical goals for the observatory, how it will be used, and why we're designing it the way that we are, as well as some background on accessibility in observatories. We're going to share the analysis that we've done on how to work within the spatial constraints of this somewhat unique volume. And then after we've shared this, our goal would be to get your support before the June 1st Architectural Access Board meeting, where this project is on the agenda for an administrative review. And related to that, I'll also note that I'll be meeting with Amherst Inspection Services on Friday for just a brief introduction to the project as well, with our construction manager, to get them familiar with some of the upcoming permit application in terms of the building permit. Our next slide is on observatories and accessibility. So for background, we know that most observatories in the US today are not accessible at all. That includes Amherst College's original observatory, the Wilder Observatory. There's many reasons that the Wilder Observatory isn't useful for research and teaching, including the age of the telescope and the size of the telescope. But accessibility is definitely part of the reason that it's used so little today. The 2 images here are first the exterior of the Wilder Observatory, and then the second image is the inside, showing the telescope pointing up in this very steep, challenging ladder to get up to it. So it's really not a place that we want students or members of the public to be using, in addition to the fact that it's not wheelchair accessible. In terms of observatories that are built today, most of those are private observatories that have stairs and no wheelchair accommodations. And those that are public have two solutions. One is to have a periscope or visual extender so that someone from a seated position could look through the telescope, but they don't get access to the full set of controls. Or alternatively, many observatories simply limit the access to the telescope itself and provide an equal experience by just having all of the viewing be remote. The next slide here is just for context on the building and the penthouse level. It's currently accessible by elevator, which is on the left side of this plan. And we've highlighted the accessible route, which is both the route out to the existing outdoor observatory roof deck, as well as the new proposed dome. So in this image, I'll just briefly highlight or explain again the existing roof deck is a rectangular area that's accessed through the building. And then we're planning to expand that slightly using the same materials to create a larger outdoor area and access into the new dome.
How do people get up there usually?
By elevator.
Okay. Okay.
And this is all outdoors, right? On top of the roof.
Yeah, so the new structure will sit on top of the roof.
And the pathways probably will be cleared of snow, right?
Yes, if it's being used, snow will need to be removed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not used every single day, so it's it may not be clear of snow every day, but certainly when it's going to be used, it will need to be cleared.
Because it's such a long way to get to the telescope by wheelchair. If the route is not cleared of snow or ice, it's just dysfunctional.
I see. Yeah, so most of the route that I'm showing on this image is indoors. This is the light gray outline is the building at the penthouse level. And then after going along from the elevator through the corridor into the observatory control room, then there's a set of double doors to go outside just in the last 40 to 50 feet of this route.
Oh. Okay.
Rachel, does it make sense for me to jump in here?
Yeah, thanks so much. So Sarah Gewirtz from Payette will go into more detail now on the geometrical constraints of how to design the interior of the observatory and the solutions that we come up with and how that results in the variance requests. Thanks,
Thank
Sarah.
you. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. And feel free to interrupt at any time if you have any questions. We're trying not to get too technical here, but I think it's important to give a little context about why this is such a tough problem. This is a very, very tiny space. It's 20 feet wide in diameter. And it's very complicated given the telescope in here. And remember that it's not just the viewing that we want to be accessible here. The goals of the faculty and the college are to make all of the telescope electronics and controls within the dome fully accessible. so that students, faculty, and the public who are going to be viewing in here have the same equal opportunities within the dome. And that's what makes this tricky. So I'm showing an image here of the approximately 20-foot dome. In the middle of it is a pier, a big 3-foot wide concrete pier where the telescope sits on that pier. The telescope is very large and it swings at a very low level that overlaps about a 9-foot diameter zone. So the telescope swings around as it's viewing different places in the sky and needs a clearance of 4'6" radius or a 9-foot diameter. We don't want students, the public, or anybody in that zone as the telescope is turning around, even though it's going very, very slowly. So
So you have like 11 feet only on the side.
um, yes, yeah, you take the 20-foot dome and subtract the 9 foot, you have a very small amount of area. So we want to make sure that at least the 30 inches around that swinging zone is clear for movement of people, where people can stand, there's a desk where they're certainly doing research and going over to a computer. That all needs to be cleared. And that is that upper zone. We want that in elevated, so again, that students and faculty can reach the electronics pieces of the telescope. When you come into these domes, you come in actually at a lower platform and you need the full normal turning radius that you would have when you enter any door. And so this is a really constrained problem. So Rachel, if you could go,
Actually, what I said about 11 feet is totally not true. It's 11 feet that's left, but half of it is on one side and half is on the other side.
exactly, half of it's
So it's
low and
five
half
and a
of it's
half feet.
high. So
Yeah, it's
we've
like,
run through
yeah.
dozens of solutions to try to figure out how to solve this problem and make it really accessible for everybody. The first one was doing what most of the observatories do for the top research institutions, is no platform at all. You extend the viewing eyepiece, as Rachel said before, but that doesn't meet the goals of the college to make the equipment accessible to students and faculty. Then, of course, we try to ramp because that would be the easiest solution for everybody. But these domes have very specific height requirements of the walls and then the curved, the dome on top, the capped dome on top, that have relationships of where the telescope is to the horizon. And if you ramp there, you don't meet the head height. You can't get underneath the dome itself. There's not enough length to roll up into the dome. So then the next best solution would be a vertical lift with a straight stair because that meets full accessibility requirements. And we tried to fit that in. In fact, the original request was for an 18-foot dome. And there was no way we could fit any of that in to an 18-foot dome with the clearances required at the ends of straight stairs and a typical vertical lift. And so we increased the size of this dome to a 20-foot dome that allowed more students and more public to be in here during public observatory nights. And we still, unfortunately, weren't able to make the clearances work with a straight stair along a curved exterior wall. And we couldn't make a vertical lift because they take up quite a bit of space to wheeling a wheelchair in and out and fitting that within the curved walls of this dome. So we ended up with a solution of an incline lift. So what I'm showing here, this image, is a section. So like if you were to cut the observatory in half and look at it, you would see a curved dome at the top. And on the lower side on the right-hand side, you're seeing the exterior platform where people would walk into the dome. And then inside the dome, you're seeing a raised platform, which is about 3'3" or 3'4" off of that lower platform, exterior platform. And that's where the telescope sits. It's a very large telescope. So we have a stair that would be going up the the between the lower platform and the upper platform that only goes about 3 foot, 3'3" high. And we have an incline lift. So maybe Rachel, the next slide. This is a plan view, so like you take a slice horizontally
Just
through this.
question about
Sure.
the stair. The stair is going to follow the contour of the dome. essentially.
Essentially, yes. It's a
Okay.
little bit more complicated because egress stairs and a curved stair by the law of what an egress stair needs to be has very specific requirements of tread
Yep.
lengths and widths and all of that. So, but effectively follows the curve of the dome.
Yep.
That's our goal.
Yep.
It's not a spiral stair, but a
What
curved
I
stair.
Thank you. What
Yes.
I don't understand is the inclined.
Yes.
I don't know what that would
Um,
be like. That I
so
need
if
an explanation for.
Absolutely, and we can send over a photo after this of what it
That
actually
doesn't help
looks
me,
like. But
but
if you have ever been in anyone's home that has a stair and the person is not able to go to their second story, sometimes they have a little seat that follows a track along the wall, and someone sits in that seat and it follows the stairs all the way up to their second story. It's a very residential application. This is similar to that, but instead of a chair for someone, it is a platform. So someone would roll their chair or their walker, or there is actually a fold-out seat if someone needed assistance and doesn't have a wheelchair, to go onto that platform. Then the sides where it ramps up sort of flip up, and they press a button, or someone helps them to press a button, and it actually travels along a um, a support rail up the stair. It follows almost the same exact path as the stair along the inner side there. And then once it gets to the top, the a lever at the front of the platform comes down and they can roll off or walk off the platform itself right onto the upper level.
so they use the same staircase,
It follows the path of the staircase. They're on
but
a
it's not on, it doesn't take how wide is the staircase?
The staircase is 3 feet wide. Yeah,
And the
three
chair
foot
is not
six.
going on taking that 3 feet.
It's a little bit less than that. It does overlap it. So someone could not walk up the stairs at the same time that this lift is in place. But when
Ah,
when the lift is not in use, it actually folds up flat against the wall.
Mhm.
So there's egress requirements and there's requirements to have it um, aligned with the fire alarm system. So in case there's
right.
a
That
fire,
was
that
my
it would
question.
exactly that it would not be able to be used. It would return to its place. You would fold it up and it would not impede egress.
And how would somebody who's up there get out? Somebody has to carry them?
Um, I I think that is true. That is true. Just like when you would have a normal platform lift, that would not be in use during a fire either.
Yeah. Okay. Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So this is.
can
Go ahead,
I
Ian.
ask a quick question?
Yes.
Uh, is there space on the lift for an additional person besides the person in a wheelchair?
I would need to look into that. I guess it depends on how big the wheelchair is, but there are a number of manufacturers who make these, and we could determine if that's true. I don't know if that's true.
Okay, thanks.
And also, does it have railings where people
Yes.
in wheelchairs can support themselves?
Absolutely. There's very specific requirements that it has almost a gate that has to enclose them. Um, it comes up over the wheelchair or it ties them in so that they can't, there's no way to fall off of this.
Mhm.
And we can send additional supporting information. Um, but it's a minimum, it meets minimum size, which is 30 inches wide by 48 inches long. So depending on the wheelchair size, that would depend on if additional person, but it has all the safety controls that you can't fall off of this.
Um, get back to the stair, which is sort of going to go along the outside wall.
Correct. It
So
follows,
there's
yes.
only about 2 feet between the stair and the telescope platform. Is that right?
That is a good question. So at the top level, between the telescope and the exterior wall for about half of the observatory is completely clear. So once you get to the top of the stair, you have the ability to either walk around or roll around the telescope on half of the observatory. Um, there's a desk on one side because they need to have a computer up there with all the electronics. And then there's a much smaller, very tight um, walking path between the telescope swing area and the railing that overlooks the lower level here, that somebody who is maintaining the telescope could go in. But you can get around the telescope to work on the electronics for, I'd say, about 270 degrees of it. Let's say the telescope is not in use and you have a student working up there with a faculty member. You can access on all sides except for 1/4 of the telescope where it might get a little bit small, or for that matter, you could rotate the telescope manually and get to that other side.
But the 1/4 is where the stairs are.
Where the lower platform stairs and lift are, yes. So if you
Yeah,
cut
yeah,
the observatory in half,
yeah.
the right half would sort of not be fully accessible, and the left half is, just by nature of the
So
geometry.
for traffic flow, let's go to the emergency, because that's
Hmm.
really the only time it,
Of course.
I mean, everything works when it works. But when it doesn't
Mhm.
work is when there's an emergency, right? That's what you
Mhm.
have to figure. So if you are, let's say you have to get to 0 degrees where the entrance to the stair is, and you happen to be at 269 degrees away from it, right? You have to go very far around, or is there a way to walk those extra 90 degrees, even if it's just single file to get out?
Yes, there would be a way to walk. And my understanding from the telescope manufacturer is you can actually very easily push this telescope, so you can rotate it and be able to get by it if needed. There's no mechanisms that stop in an emergency that would stop this from rotating and get by it
Okay,
on the other side.
okay. And what's the capacity of the space? What are you saying the
They
the
they're
human capacity
hoping
would be?
between 10 and 15 people for public observatory nights.
Okay.
For classes, Rachel, do you recall what their goal was it about a dozen students
A goal of 15 to 20, but not necessarily all in the
at
space at
once?
the same time. It would be a class of that size where you might break into smaller groups and take turns getting a closer look.
That's
Yeah,
not a
and I
lot of
think
space for 20 people. Yeah.
It,
Okay.
it's not, and it's yeah. I think since the goal is to provide an opportunity to get up close to the equipment, there's no size of room that would allow 20 people to all be close at one time. So inevitably they're taking turns
Yeah.
to all get that close up view. Um,
I have a
yeah,
quick.
and maybe just to highlight again this 9-foot diameter circle that we're referring to as the telescope operational clearance is a very conservative constraint that we've put on the design so that the telescope can rotate fully and have people standing outside of that rotation. But in reality, it's not moving quickly and it's not moving that often. So there would be floor space to be within that circle
So does
nearly all the time.
anybody have any reservations about this variance
Well,
that you want to share with them?
I have a question about before we get that far to about the lift.
Okay.
How user friendly is it? Like if I am there to come with my personal care assistants and we don't have any knowledge of how to use this thing, is there somebody who will operate it there? Or is it just the visitors who are just new at the site?
Sure, thank you. So first off, no one will be inside the dome without a trained faculty member or staff person. There may be students at times who are trained to use it independently, but no members of the public arriving here for the first time would be here without a staff or faculty presence. We don't have the information yet on the specific controls of the interface, but I imagine they come with signage to explain the use, and we could add additional signage if it becomes apparent that the manufacturer supplied signage isn't sufficient. But it's not public in the same sense as an elevator in the building that somebody may walk into without assistance.
So the question really isn't about the physical accessibility as so much the usability
That's
by
right.
people who, who aren't people who go up there all the time. Like if you want to go to the observatory, if you're a wheelchair user, is there going to always be somebody on the faculty who knows how to get there? I mean, what somebody said earlier was, or it said in the paper, I don't remember. Um, uh, I say paper, it's not paper. That there'll be a place in the building where somebody would have to get the key or something. Um, and that was sort of a red flag to me because there's always good intentions. And how do you get, like the person who has the key isn't there today. The person the place where you get the key, that the person doesn't have access to that place because it's a visiting professor and they forgot to tell him, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of these things fall apart because of the human element, not because of the structural element. So that's not our purview, but I think that makes or breaks a project sometime. Can I ask a question? This is absurd, but I'm going to ask it. How high are the exterior walls of the dome? If they're outside, how there has to be like a fence, a wall, something. How high is that?
Yeah, so I'll touch on the dimensions of the dome and then go back to the user experience of the lift.
And
Um,
Joe would also
oh,
like to comment on that as well.
sure.
But go ahead.
Also, okay. So the structure that we refer to as the observatory dome has two components. First, on top of the roof is a cylinder, and that will have walls that are 7 feet high on top of a 18-inch curb. So that'll extend 8.5 feet above the existing roof level. And then on top of the cylinder is the dome shape. And that's slightly higher than the walls. So that's really half a sphere in
Okay,
terms
I
of
didn't
its.
ask it well.
Okay.
What I mean is, if I'm standing on the platform at the top of the stairs or in the place that's available for people to congregate while they're waiting or looking at something, how high is the wall between me and the down, like the outside world? This is a disability committee. There's mental health question that I'm asking, right? You're inviting people to be um up on the roof, and there are people who do things when they're up there. When they have, what I'm saying. I want to make sure this is, relatively suicide proof.
Oh, the dome is enclosed.
The dome is enclosed.
Yes.
I
So
thought
you
it was
actually,
outside.
the roof is outside, and the place where they currently have telescopes on the roof deck is outside. In order to get into the cylinder that we're talking about, the lower platform, there's a door, a locked door that the faculty or
Yeah,
students who are using
yeah,
this for research would need the key to get into.
got it.
Then you walk up the stairs or take the lift up to this platform, which is 3 foot, 3.5 feet, let's say, above the original level. And the rest of the wall surface is about 4.5 feet tall, but the dome that's above it is fully enclosed. When the faculty or students are doing research or public observatory nights, they type something into the computer. This is all new to me of how this works, and it automatically rotates the dome to where they want to look at, whether it's Jupiter or Saturn or whatever planet they want to see. And then a flap opens at the top of the dome that allows the telescope just to see what it needs to see
Got
based
it.
on that computer program. But
Okay.
otherwise, everything else is enclosed.
So the existing space is actually more dangerous, but we're not talking about that.
There
Okay.
is a height required fence
Okay.
around that part. Yes.
All right.
Sorry, this is Ian. I have a question about the design that's visible on the screen. It looks like the fences that number 18 and number 19
Mhm.
are those accessible to Myra's point? Are those accessible to people who would be up there? And what height are is that fence? Or what looks like a fence?
Those are all guardrail heights.
Okay.
And again, when anyone is up here, they're fully chaperoned.
Okay.
I believe that's right, Rachel. There's not a public that's up here on public observatory nights that doesn't have a chaperone up there with them
Do
from the
students have
college.
access to it whenever they want to go up there?
Only students who have been trained extensively by the physics and astronomy department.
But nevertheless, people can get up there. I mean, that's not part of this request. And I don't want to confuse your request with this because it's not about the dome. But and it hasn't been an issue, blah, blah, blah. But in these days, we have to think about depression, mental health, and what people do sometimes. And we like to prevent it as much as we can, but that is not relevant. You can't hear me, can you?
Yes, we can.
You
Yes, thank
can.
you.
Yes.
I usually get feedback from the mic in here, like someone's alive, but I'm not now. Okay. Anyway, okay. So does anybody have any concerns about approving the request for variance for this particular project?
What was pre-variance request? If there's no variance, what will happen? People will only be able to see it from lower level, but they cannot have the full controls of the telescope.
Yeah, so I'll recap by just stating specifically the two variance requests. Those are related to the requirement for a uniform stair treads and risers, and a straight stair run is impractical within this round structure. And then the second variance request is for the incline lift, which are allowed only where other types of lifts are not don't fit, essentially. So without the variance requests, we would essentially need to proceed without having a raised platform. And so we would have a floor inside the dome that someone could walk or roll into, but then the controls of the telescope would be accessible or could be reached only via ladder, essentially. And so that scenario is really not
Feasible, yeah.
Yeah, it's not desirable to us because it really wouldn't allow students to get the experience of learning how to use the telescope and prepare for professional research or careers in astronomy. And so we think it's a less optimal experience for any users.
Can a person in
it-
a wheelchair access the controls?
Only if a platform is provided. So the height of the telescope is driven by consideration for it, the angle at which it will be able to actually go out, view out the top of the dome. So if the telescope is lowered, then it really limits the range of the sky that can be seen. And it's also with consideration to the building around it and other landmarks. So the telescope needs to be raised within the dome, and then it's how do you get people to the telescope.
So the point is that a person in a wheelchair could have the experience of being up there and perhaps look through whatever you're setting up so that they can, like a periscope. But as far as the controls, you have to be standing up to be able to do that?
Yeah, so our goal is for anyone taking an astronomy class to be able to really understand the technology, and be able to plug
Right.
things into
Like
the
a
telescope.
person
Yeah.
in a wheelchair taking
Yeah,
an astronomy class. Or let's go one further, a person in a wheelchair teaching an astronomy class.
absolutely. So if without the variances, we would not be able to have the raised platform that would bring someone in a seated position close enough to the telescope to be able to um, switch out the instrumentation.
Okay, so
Uh,
you're saying that a person in a wheelchair can 100% use this telescope with these variances, whereas if you didn't get the variances, we're not in control of that. If you didn't get the variances, a person would not be able to they would not they would not be able to get up a ladder to access the control.
that's correct.
Okay. Does that
Yeah.
okay,
Sorry,
go
Uh,
ahead.
our code consultant,
No,
Joe, wanted to jump in with one other
Aha,
piece of
okay.
information.
no,
Sorry.
Okay.
sorry. I raised my hand initially, and I don't know if it's a moot point now, but I wanted to comment on one of the points about a key, and then I raised my hand again but I think Rachel clarified the intent of the variance, right? It's either we these are successful, and we can allow essentially full functionality of the observatory and telescope to persons with disabilities and who might need accommodations, a wheelchair and the like, to both view as well as access the controls. And then if we were unsuccessful in this pursuit, then as Rachel was stating, the design would probably default back to something where folks with needing accommodations could still access the observatory, but from and potentially still view from the telescope by using the periscope, but they would not be able to access the controls to get the full experience. But I think
Nice.
Rachel kind of summed that up. Um, on the key front, I just wanted to clarify that um, we don't necessarily have a manufacturer selected yet for this type of equipment. Um, However, the information that we provided in the variance documentation was essentially what the baseline requirements are for these types of lifts from the ADA, where if the lift is key operated, there's requirements as to how that wants to be coordinated. But of course, if that approach was infeasible, or it was troublesome for how the college would be operating it, I would think we would have probably a better solution. But I just wanted to clarify that those requirements were listed in the variance documentation, essentially lifted from what the ADA would otherwise minimally
Okay.
require for these installations.
Does somebody want to make a motion about approving their request for variance?
This is Ian. I'll make a motion to approve the variance request.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, is there any need for further discussion? Are we ready to vote?
I think so.
Okay, all in favor of of approving Ian's motion to approve the two requests for variance, one for a ramp, one for a not circular, rounded stairwell, and
Yeah.
one for an incline ramp, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, and yes for me. And Pamela, I didn't hear you. Uh-oh.
Yes,
She's
for me as
missing.
well.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yep, sorry.
Okay. All right.
And it's
Anyone opposed? No. Okay, so you have 7-0 unanimous approval of your request for variance, and I think it's cool. And as a blind person who will never be able to see what's coming out of that thing, I think it's cool anyway.
Thank you for your support. Again, this is going to the Architectural Access Board on June 1st. And so to the extent that we can get your support set to them beforehand, we really appreciate it.
Okay.
Very good. Thank
Pamela, we have to send them a letter. I mean, we
Yeah,
pretty
well,
much we do
we
that.
typically send a letter within a day or two directly to the MMAB.
yeah.
So, and Myra, just as a note of time, it's 12:30.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I think what we need to do really quickly, because the rest of it, we have a really good proposal for the July 16 and 20 um, Disability Pride Month activities. Pamela and the people from the rec department, the aquatic director, and the librarian, Mia, and Tori Dixon and her husband have put together a really cool two-part program, one for small children at 11 o'clock in the morning on the 16th, and one at noon, where um, Tori and her husband will talk to little kids too, but that they will, because they're both Paralympians, and Tori is a Paralympian swimmer with a medal. Um, she will talk to whoever wants to go at 12 o'clock, and then open swim will be at 1 o'clock with people showing off any adaptive swim equipment that the town has. And I, for one, am incredibly impressed. Thank you, Pamela, for putting all this together. Incredibly impressed at how well various people from different departments in this town have gotten together to do something really cool with citizen involvement that who are not town employees. This is a perfect way to do something. I think it's so impressive. And I have to give credit to Pamela and to the library people and to the rec department people. We had a really cool meeting at which we just threw out all kinds of ideas and they all picked it up and ran with it. And I mean, this is for me, the prototype of how things are supposed to work. I don't know if you want to say something additional, Pamela. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I think.
Thank you. I will just say that you all got a draft of the two dates. July 16th would be the story hour at the Jones Library, and July 20th will be the second event, which will be at Mill River Pavilion. And so both Jones and the rec department have been great partners. And Becky Demling has also looked to invite other town departments to also attend the event on the 20th. So we'll have more time to talk about fine detail next month before the event because they don't take place until July. So just I'll just close there and then we can move on to the other things on the
Do I need a
agenda.
motion to approve this plan or do I not?
Pamela, you said it's going to be in the Jones Library. Which
Yeah,
Jones
it's the replacement for the
talking
Jones
about?
Library. Yeah,
Yeah, so
the
I'm
new Jones
saying
Library.
Jones Library, but it's a
Yeah.
location that they're using on University Drive. So
Oh,
they're
the
temporary location.
post office.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're temporary location.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ian, you have a question? Oh, Cody, you have a question?
Sadly, I will be in DC the 20th.
Oh, too bad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's very too bad. Do we need a motion to that we approve of this plan, or do we not need that?
And Ian has his hand raised as well. Okay.
So
Right.
I was raising my hands. I just wanted to revisit my proposal from last month, and I sent out some
Oh, right, the
about
masks.
it,
Okay, right.
to have it be a mask required event. We're 6 years into a mass disabling pandemic that causes symptoms from long COVID is a disability, and
Is this something we can do in June? This is going to require a conversation.
okay. I mean,
Do you think it is? Because we still have a month to advertise it that way.
if we can put it on the discussion for June.
Yeah, the June meeting would be on the 10th.
Nine. Yeah.
No, 9th.
On the 9th, June
Yeah.
9th.
And we still have like more than a month because this is going to be a discussion and we don't have time for it right
Yeah,
now.
I have initial thoughts that won't be popular, but I mean, I feel it's an outdoor event. Why do we need masks?
Oh, I
But
think he's talking about the inside part at the library.
yeah.
Yeah, I was referring to the library.
Oh, okay. I still got thoughts.
Good question, but I
But
think that's
let's
it.
save that.
All right, so we'll move this part of it to June. But anyway, thank you to everybody. Okay, we have people from the downtown design, and we're not unfortunately having as much time as we would like. Um, uh, I think Nate came in March or something, and he told us about part 1, 2, and 3. And so if you could possibly just talk about part 3, which is the part that really impacts this committee, that would be great. So whoever came, Nate doesn't work for Amherst anymore. He's the town manager in Hadley now, which is
Yeah,
too bad.
good for
So,
him.
but I don't know who, it's good for him. I don't know who came to talk about this. So could you introduce yourself and talk about part 3? And we might need to have you come back if that works. I don't know.
Peter, do you want me to yeah, my name is Jeff Bagg. I am the Director of Planning and Economic Development for the town of Amherst. So I um was working with Nate. I started in Amherst in December. I had worked in Amherst from 2008 to 2016 in the planning department, but I was recently hired as the director. And Nate's role, was the assistant director. So Nate and I were working together over the past 5 months. But as Myra said, Nate has had new employment as the town administrator in Hadley. So we're all happy for him, and that's a good opportunity for Nate. I'll be filling in on this project for Nate, the downtown design standards. And then I'll just briefly introduce. So Peter Flinker is the town's consultant who's been working with the town for a period, a couple years on this project. And Peter's going to kind of give the overview. And we have a process. This is not a final product, so we're seeking some input. And then maybe this fall we'll be presenting the final packet of materials to the town council, and there'll be a formal process for adoption. But I think with that, I'll hand it over to Peter, who can talk about kind of the public realm items. But thanks for having us tonight. I mean, today at noon. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, we were aware you were tight on time, so I've got a brief presentation, mostly focused on the third volume. So yeah, my name is Peter Flinker. I'm president of Dodson and Flinker. We're landscape architects and planners in Florence, all the way across the valley. But we've worked in Amherst for many years on different projects, and this has been a really interesting one because it combines design on all levels and planning for the future of the downtown. So if possible, I'm going to share my screen and show you a few slides, and I will try to describe what's on them. So yeah, as you heard, we ended up doing sort of 3 separate volumes because this was originally envisioned as an update to the 2001 downtown design standards. But we realized you can't really do design standards unless you understand what you're trying to do in terms of design. So we started out with a visioning process that really looked at what's the downtown like, how do the different parts of the downtown work, and how does new development fit into old development in each of those areas. And then volume 2 is kind of the more technical standards of how do you design buildings and landscapes to fit into the existing historical context of the downtown. And then volume three is focused on the so-called public realm, which is basically the area between the curb and the building fronts. Most of that's public space within the public right of way. Some of it's private space, depending on the location of the buildings. But we're really treating it as one sort of design process. We did a lot of sort of inventorying of existing conditions. This slide shows sort of 5 different areas of the downtown sidewalks to illustrate the challenges. I mean, one, as you know, is worn and uneven pavement, and there's a picture of kind of the complicated, broken, and uneven pavement along an area across from the common. We have in the center is a photograph of sort of competing uses along the sidewalk space. This particular photograph shows benches, a light pole, bike racks, a sidewalk, entry to buildings, an accessible ramp, an outdoor terrace, and all of that happening within a relatively small space. So a big part of what we're doing with the design standards is trying to regularize that and make it clear what different parts of the streetscape sort of cross section between the curb and the front of the buildings, how those can be organized to manage all those different uses. Because we want to have activity, we want to make it comfortable for people doing all kinds of different things, because that's what makes the downtown lively. But we don't want people literally tripping over each other. Another issue is elevation changes. On the right, we have a photograph of a ramp coming up to a platform on the south side of North Pleasant Street. And it sort of illustrates a lot of conditions where you have changes in grade between the curb and the building frontages, which have been resolved in many different ways over many years, typically with kind of awkwardly positioned accessible ramps that meet the ADA standards, but not very elegantly, to put it mildly. Another issue is the sort of maintaining functionality in winter. You know, we have a picture of some new bike racks that are kind of in the middle of an area covered with snow, and a ramp that's covered with snow. Very typical complication with downtown where you have 6 months of winter. And then the sort of the last thing here is an illustration of some of the new paving in front of the new apartments that have been built at the north end of the downtown, talking about how the varied aesthetic and functional design where you have private development occurring that's sort of overlapping with the public development can create, both aesthetic issues, but also functional issues when you're dealing with different kinds of pavement. Even though it's all accessibly designed, the variations can make it unpredictable. So a big part of this process is to sort of replace the 2001 design guidelines, both in terms of materials and also approach to design to make things more consistent. So the 2001 design guidelines were based on an earlier vision for the streetscape. One particular thing was it was sort of the 1980s style of streetscape where used concrete pavers, and then varied materials to make it, pretty. But what we've discovered is that didn't hold up very well over time. You have uneven pavers in some areas. You have areas that have been patched and repaved and so on. The other issue is, again, the access to buildings has evolved over time with varied results. And so the new design standards are designed to support consistency throughout the downtown and maintenance of more predictable conditions so that you don't have pavements failing over time. So volume 3, it's called the Design Standards for the Public Realm, which is basically, again, that area between the front of the buildings and the curb. We didn't talk about redesigning the streets and bike lanes and so on to a great extent, but it's really focused on that sidewalk space. So for sidewalks, the main idea is to establish clear zones for different uses with a priority on maintaining a clear throughway throughout the downtown that minimizes obstructions and conflicts with the other users. There's a section on street enhancements, which deals with crosswalks and curb extensions and dining areas. It does talk a little bit about bike lanes and accessible parking, but mostly in relationship to how those fit up against the sidewalk. There's a section on site furnishings, which talks about benches and waste receptacles, bike racks, and lighting and signage, and those things, kind of the furniture that sits on the sidewalk space. And then finally, plantings. Talk about street trees and landscaping and bioretention, which is kind of a more recent approach to stormwater management that uses vegetation to help clean the stormwater before it goes back into the ground. This is a map that shows sort of designated sidewalk spaces for each street in the downtown in three categories. One is kind of large street cross section of 15 feet and greater width, again, between the curb and the front of the buildings. The second one is sort of, well, medium size, between 10 and 15 feet. And the third one is small, which is less than 10 feet. And these really correspond to the Main Street, South Pleasant Street corridor is widest as you go to the north and south and up Main Street and Amity Street and Triangle Street. It's sort of medium sized. And then the side streets like Prey Street and Cows Lane and Halleck Street are the smaller sidewalk cross sections. And as shown in this slide, we're really throughout the priorities of having a safe and durable concrete sidewalk that goes continuously through all of these different street cross sections. So no matter what the size, what we're going toward is a durable concrete sidewalk with a simple score pattern to make it as accessible as possible and also something that'll hold up over time. So this image.
So no more asphalt sidewalks. Yahoo!
Correct. Well, it's going to take some time before
Yeah,
them to be replaced. Again, this
right,
is not an active program of maintenance or
right.
replacement. This is
Ideal. Right.
particularly to guide, private redevelopment so that as each incremental project goes forward, it helps to complete the town-wide system. So this image shows a sort of a technical cross-section, a construction diagram of a concrete sidewalk, and then there's a three-dimensional view showing sort of a simple sidewalk going down the center of the street, or the streetscape cross-section. So we have some diagrams of each of those zones. I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but this is showing a cross-section of a typical sidewalk between the front of the building and the street, sort of showing where you have that central throughway, which is sort of the open sidewalk space paved with concrete, poured in place sidewalk in the widest area, 15 feet, that's an 8-foot minimum width. Then there's the so-called furnishing and utility zones, which is where all the other stuff is placed, which is planting. Well, they can either be raised planters or inset tree pits, but they're sort of tucked into that space between the sidewalk and the street, along with bike parking, benches, decorative pavement, lighting, and so on. And then on the opposite side of the sidewalk, there may or may not be room for a so-called private frontage and transition space, which is basically sort of how you go from the sidewalk into the buildings themselves. So the idea is to have room for swinging doors, to have room for people to stop in front of a door or window, but to also keep the sidewalk clear for people passing by. And so the second slide here shows sidewalks for 10 to 15 feet and sidewalks less than 10 feet. Similar idea. Both these diagrams show a sort of a central, in one case, a 6-foot wide throughway, in the other case, a 4-foot minimum width on the throughway with space for furnishings on one side and that private frontage on the other.
Are you figuring switchback ramps into this?
No, those would be accommodated within separate space in front of the building, the so-called private frontage. And
Right, but if that's 10 feet wide,
Right. Well, that's
Ha-
sort of, I've just switched to the next slide, which shows where you have areas of grade change. The idea is to really look at those more comprehensively across multiple properties so that instead of everybody having a separate switchback accessible ramp, you do something like raising the whole sidewalk space so you don't have to have an accessible ramp. You can keep the walkways under 5% and then have a more natural access for everybody into the front of the buildings. And where you need to incorporate um, retaining walls or ideally planting beds that help take up the grade and clarify where the walkway is.
You have to be able to get back down to the street,
Right.
right?
So this would be yeah, it sort of worked into the area between the street and the idea is it wouldn't replace the areas where you have an existing curb and curb cuts and so on for access. But it's really between those curb cuts to provide a more easy to use and more attractive and usable space rather than multiple separate ramps into the buildings. Again, this is something that's going to evolve hopefully over many years. It's not going to happen very quickly. Um, but then, what happens is nothing changes for 10 years and suddenly a lot changes because you have a large building renovation or something coming in. And so the idea is to have guidelines in place that say, when you do this, if and when, we'd rather have this more attractive approach that doesn't require, accessible ramps, but is sort of integrating the grades into the buildings more, more naturally.
So when you did this, have you gone block by block and said, okay, this block is relatively flat. The entrance to the businesses are relatively good as far as accessibility, as far as slope and everything. But on this particular block, there is a big problem with the topography. And
Mhm.
on this block, you have to do it that way. Or I mean, have you set that out given the topography that exists, or is
Yeah,
that going to be coming later?
that would have to come later. Again, this is not a detailed design for any particular building or street frontage or existing street. We did look at existing conditions and the standard sort of somewhere in here there is a standard that applies to each of the typical conditions within the downtown, but we didn't do any detailed design. So this really is kind of a vision for how things should be designed if and when that happens. So some of this will likely be done, by the town DPW over time, though they have no plans to make changes at this point. Uh, More likely it'll happen incrementally as each adjoining business says, well, we'd like to make better use of the space in front of our building, so we're going to redo that terrace and take out the existing accessible ramps and come up with a better approach, which probably will require working with the neighbors on each side.
That's what I
So
was thinking. Yeah.
the idea is to show that as a vision and to encourage people to do that, and also have all the different boards say, please do this. Please follow this approach rather than dealing with your issue on just your little lot in the same kind of awkward way. Let's do
Yep.
something that's more comprehensive when we can. So it's really designed to inspire people to do that. Um, but again, legally they're required to do, to create public access, as you know, they're not required to do it this way, but the idea is to inspire people again and to help give the planning board and other boards the tools to ask for it. Say, look, this is our vision. Please help us do this. Um, the section on street enhancements really talks about, that's the section that talks about crosswalks. And here, again, the 2001 standards talked about sort of pavers in crosswalks as something that would be more attractive. But what the town has discovered over time and what we've seen all over the place, is a lot of those 20 and 30-year-old installations have been failing over time.
Yep.
The plows hit them and so on. And so the Amherst DPW has really settled on what's shown in an image here of a crosswalk in front of the library, which is a stamped asphalt to give it a texture of bricks painted in a brick color with contrasting white striping and a durable thermoplastic paint that'll provide for, clarity in low vision conditions. So that's pretty much the standard that's being incorporated into this document throughout the downtown. And so because it's the same material, sort of continuous asphalt, it doesn't move differently compared to the rest of the asphalt pavement on the street. It is going to fail, eventually, as asphalt always does. And so the street will need to be replaced over time. But at least it won't be heaving in the way that concrete pavers can do. Also, this section on street enhancement talks a little bit about curb enhancements, or curb extensions rather, which are the bump outs that allow pedestrians to get a little bit further into the street before they step into the roadway itself. So we're sort of adopting that as a practice throughout the downtown. And then standards also for outdoor dining spaces, primarily focused on maintaining that safe, clear pedestrian passage on the adjoining sidewalk. And then standards for accessible parking, so that where you have a parallel parking space, to clarify that the goal is to have enough room on the curbside in that same space to be able to exit the car without getting out into traffic and then to get up onto the sidewalk. Again, not easy in many areas of the downtown, but where it is possible, we're hoping that people will follow that approach. And then sort of the final part of site furnishings, again, is to have public seating with a standard for 50% of the seat backs, or the seating to have seat backs and armrests to make them more accessible, to maintain or to make sure that waste receptacles and bike racks and other furnishings are clear of the pedestrian throughway, and to have signage that follows existing sign regulations but really focuses on large contrasting text, so the signs are easier to read. And this shows again, some technical diagrams of typical bench and how that would be placed in the sidewalk cross section. And there's a diagram showing two benches facing each other in the furnishing and utility zones, and another bench facing standing on the edge of the street but facing inward. Again, to emphasize the fact that benches need to be clear of the throughway of the sidewalk, so that's open at all times. And then finally, there are standards for plantings.
Can I interrupt just for 1 second? So
Certainly.
I just wanted to alert the commission that I have to jump off this call because I'm scheduled to appear before the Finance Committee, but Philip is now on the call and will be with you
Okay.
to close out the meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
I'm almost done.
This is
So
Jeff
the
as well
last,
too. I have to follow the same path as Pamela because my budget hearing starts in a minute too. So I'm going to jump off. But one thing I just want to say thank you, Peter, and for the commission. One of the goals was to get the presentation today, and then maybe have yourselves as a commission discuss it at the next meeting to find out if you have any questions or concerns that you would like to articulate back to the consultant team. Our hope was to have comments from boards and committees by July 1st. So we tried to give enough
Okay.
time for the committee to meet maybe once or twice to digest this and identify any questions or concerns that you might have that can be addressed in the final product. So Peter can probably reiterate that in his closing remarks, but I also have to jump to for this meeting.
Okay.
But thank you very much.
No, thank you very much. I'm sorry that we had so much on this agenda,
It's okay. You guys are
and
busy.
I probably should have moved it faster, but I
It's
didn't.
okay.
Okay.
I think Peter can stay on to
Okay.
continue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is Peter
Sorry,
again.
sorry, this is Ian. I also have to jump for a work commitment. But thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you can download this from the town's website and hope you'll
Yeah.
give it a chance. Give it a read. Let us know anything you'd like to see.
I
I
just have
did.
to say, I love this. I mean, if anybody ever does it, and it probably won't even be alive anymore by the time it gets done, but I love this from a perspective of a of people who need consistency in streetscape, people who can't see it, people who have trouble, even intellectually figuring out stuff about where to go, what to do. Some of what's in this town is a little bit difficult to figure out. And this is fabulous. And, colors and stuff like that will have to come later. But I really appreciate this. And, it would be nice to know how it's actually going to come out. But it's 20 or 30 years down the road before you're going to know. So at least 10. Um, I don't know
Yeah.
if anyone else wants to say anything directly at this moment. Does anybody?
I think it's a great idea to keep some standards and encourage businesses to participate in it.
As long as we can take this up in June, I
Yeah.
have concerns about the benches, but that we're not going to get into those weeds now.
Okay, so I guess at this point, what I think we should do is we can look at this more. I mean, there is stuff in what you sent out in volume 3 that's much more specific than what you talked about today, or no?
There's more of it. Um, and
Th-
yeah, there is a lot of specific text and images in there talking about sort of technical aspects of how to design the streetscape.
okay. I was having trouble reading the PDF, so I would have gotten further with it, but I was having technological issues. So I think what we should do is try real hard to make sure we look at it before the next meeting, come up with some really specific questions or ideas. They don't even have to be, they could be in there already, but we could say we love that particular thing that's in there, or we think it could be a little bit different, or like Jim has questions about benches. Um, I have always questions about elevations because the topography is very difficult, and how they're going to work that out even around town hall would be really nice to know, right? Um, so I think we need to just approve minutes and adjourn. Um, unless you have something that specifically that you want us to zero in on.
Okay, Myra, can I interrupt one thing?
Yeah.
I would like to discuss the Munson Library.
Okay,
And
right now. Okay, well, hold on.
No,
Yeah,
we don't have time
that's not this topic.
I know. But is there any way? I don't know how to proceed with placing on the next agenda.
We
So
could discuss it right now. I just want to, Peter, it doesn't need to be here
Yeah,
for this.
I'm
Yeah,
at your service.
yeah, yeah.
So that was
Okay.
that was basically what I wanted to present, and I
No,
hope
I think that was incredibly good because you did a really good job in the short time. And uh, I don't know if you could be available even by Zoom. I mean, you're on Zoom now, right? You're not in a
yes,
place. Yeah, okay.
yeah, no,
So
it's
I don't know if you could be available in June if we have questions. I don't know if you'd be willing to do that. We would make sure you were on first and you would not have to wait around.
I,
Um,
it's not really a problem when you're on Zoom, right? I've
yeah,
been
yeah.
looking at other things. It was
Okay.
interesting to hear about what Amherst College is doing.
Yeah.
So
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for all the work you did to this. I went to the March 28th thing. I was really impressed then. I wasn't able to stay for the walking around part because I had another obligation, but I think the work that you've done is really good. And really, I hope the town picks it up. Thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
We'll see you again soon.
thank you.
Okay. Um, Munson Library. It seems like um, what would you like to bring up about it? Sarah.
We, you just, when I wrote my comment, you said that it has to be addressed through Pamela. So I don't know. I just want to have at least 10, 15 minutes.
No, I didn't say that. I just said that you can't send everything to the whole committee because it's illegal. You have to go through Pamela and she has to contact the committee. It's illegal for us to have a meeting on Zoom with all the people of the committee. We can't have more than 3 people ever on an email. That's all it is. So I think, what did you want to discuss about the Munson Library right now? He sent us a
Well,
memo.
there was a little bit surplus money than the plant project, which we
Right.
looked at the plant project, and I never understood how much money we're spending on something I'm not, because I couldn't even get to the side door to see what it is. But anyhow, that's committed. But then with the leftover money, then I brought the attention to the then accessible siting, a parking space in front of it without destroying any of the shrubs. It's already there, and it can easily be done. And the other thing, the doors, they said it's included in the first, the money that's already getting right now. So that's not a project, but the side, the stair lift is totally unusable. And so whatever money is
Wait, what
left,
is totally unusable? What did you say?
stair lift.
Yeah.
And whatever money there is left in that project should be assigned to that stair lift, because it is widely used by public, and it's also a voting place, and it's also a public place with the library there. So,
Okay,
I think
so
the deadline
what
to
there are
spend
2 things, Sarah. One is the MOD has to decide. We can't decide if we want to expand the project. It has nothing to do with, we can ask them, but they gave us $150,000. What we asked them for is actually the bid was $97,000. So there's $53,000 left over. One would hope that we can use that money to fix whatever needs to get fixed, but it's not up to us because we applied for a specific project and MOD has to decide if we can expand it. So I think they're in process. My sense is they're in process of talking to MOD about whether we can expand it. In that memo he sent on May 6th, it says that that we can't do the chairlift for $50,000, pretty much. Is that what you got out of it?
I don't think he said that exactly. I think that although that may well have been what he wanted to say but didn't, I don't know. But he said it was, they would have to design to have
design. Yeah.
design. They would have to do a lot of research, and it was just impractical to accomplish by June 30th. And so then he added that, perhaps we could endorse, we as the commission could endorse a small proposal to MOD asking for money for planning in the coming year.
Right.
That's what I took away from it. And I certainly think that, well, I think 2 things. One is that this proposal was probably developed by the planning department, I don't know, 3 years ago or something like that. And they never bothered to look at the lift or anything like that.
That's correct. And we didn't either, the truth
We
is.
didn't either. And so, now we're kind of stuck, but it
Yep.
really does need to be addressed.
Yeah.
Rob was suggesting that there might be other approaches. I'm not sure what those would be, given the configuration of the building, but what do I know?
I
And
think they involve going outside and in the back
which would be pretty
door, which
nuts.
is absurd. Yeah. I mean, that's not reasonable.
And, well, it also might be possible to move a restroom upstairs directly overhead where the women's restroom is now, or at least that, you've got the piping in there that you could move the water up. But again, I don't know.
But the space was small
Yeah.
for a bathroom.
So, anyway, that's something do we want to follow up on Rob's suggestion and at least keep some sort of pressure on as far as we need some design?
Is that our top priority? That's what he wants to know for the next grant. Because we talked about Mill River too. And what do we want them to, what
You
would
talked
we
about
ask?
what?
I'm sorry?
You said you also talked about something. I missed the word.
Mill River bathroom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's another must.
So we can't apply for both of them. Which one do we think? I mean, there's $25,000 that they're obviously not going to spend, that they budgeted to spend on this project. And then I assume there will be $25,000 for next year as well that we could, so that's 50,000 that was coming from the town, that would come from the town. And I don't know how far that gets us. I mean, it doesn't get you a bathroom, that's for sure. Just can't imagine how much a bathroom costs.
Well,
So
I cannot really tell what should be their priority because it seems like their priorities are a little bit different, because there's so much money that is being spent on design process rather than to get until the actual thing. And there are so many things that really need to be addressed. Mill River, one of them. And this Jones Library is another one. There's another thing in my mind, the street for the new school. The school is coming up, and I have no idea still what's happening with that street, Southeast Street. So there may,
nobody else does either.
yeah. So I think we might need to maybe prioritize and submit to the town that these are the things we really need addressed.
Well, that's what he asked us to do. The traffic thing, I mean, we're going to have input into that, but I think for an MOD grant, that's not going to that. I think he wants to know what we should do for an MOD grant. So do we want to look into, do we want to apply for, we can't apply for design money because by the time you get the design, you can't build it. So maybe they want to use the town money for the design and then apply for the ramp at Munson, or do we want them to apply for much more money to get the bathrooms at Mill River? My sense is we won't get a lot of money 2 years in a row. That would just be my guess. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know the budgeting process of the town.
No, it's not the town, it's the MOD.
Yeah, but the town should have some money. What is that? Community Preservation Act and things like that. I don't understand what they are. But are we only dependent on the state funding to make improvements to be ADA accessible? These
No,
are
the
all
question right
crazy.
now, because there's a June deadline, is what do we want to ask for the MOD grant for next year for? They have a
Yeah,
June deadline on their grant.
right. And I don't know what the date is exactly. So we may not have a chance to meet again and give our official
We
approval.
won't.
My own sense is that the town should use its own money for design on a lift at Munson, and then we should go for an accessible bathroom at Mill River. That's just my
Yeah.
sense.
Okay, so you would say that we should try to get MOD money to have an accessible bathroom outdoor, the one that's not in the bathhouse, the accessible outside bathroom at Mill
My,
River. Cody, go
my
ahead.
opinion is, as you all said, that will be a lot of money. So I would say to play it safe, try to go for the stair lift. That won't be a lot of money compared to a bathroom. but yeah.
I actually agree with you. Um, I think you're right because they gave us $150,000 this year to build, to get accessible bathrooms over there at Mill River is going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Um, and I think maybe if we just finish off the Munson Library thing by, we spend the 25,000, we come up, we, we on our own get the plan for the ramp and ask them to pay for the money to install it. That's a smaller project, and I figure we'd be more likely to get. I think Cody is right to play it safe because they gave us last year they gave us 100,000. We didn't use it. This year they gave us 150,000, and for other reasons we're not going to spend all of it. Which our other reasons this year are good. The reasons last year were not good. And I think if we're going to ask them for 200,000 for a bathhouse, we're likely, I don't know. I mean, you never know, but I don't think we're going to get six figures out of them again next year. I don't know. That's what I think. I might be wrong. So the question is, how do we decide? And what's our priority? Ian's not here. Pamela's not here. Sarah and me and Jim and
Well,
Cody. So we do have a quorum.
I'm
And
agreeing with
wait,
what
is Reg
Jim
still
said.
here?
Yes,
You're still here. What do you think about this?
I enjoy really going over to the Mill River, especially during the summertime. The bathrooms over there seem like they're pretty old and archaic. I would love to see accessible bathrooms over their location. And I do understand in terms of finances, how much things cost. Myra, like you mentioned, costing a lot of money. But would definitely like to see some improvements over at Mill River in terms of the restrooms. Very important.
So we have two projects. We'd be happy to have them apply for either. I just wonder if we could, I don't know. So do we have, I mean, Saren and Jim seem, Cody and I seem to like the stair lift, and the other three of you like the other one. Seems like
What do you mean stair lift? What is stair lift? Is
the
that
the lift on the Mill River. I mean the
Munson Library?
Munson Library.
Munson, yeah.
Cody and I seem to prefer that one, and the other three of you seem to prefer the Mill River bathroom.
No, not really. Not really. My first priority is Munson Library because it is annually used space and it's a voting registration, voting site, which is very important, and a library. And they do lots of public events there, very busy, they said.
So we should ask them to finish off the accessibility of the Munson Library by making by putting a bathroom and, well, maybe we could take care of the stair lift with the town money, and we could ask them to look into locating a bathroom above. Jim, did you happen to see what's in that space above the bathroom?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
There, yeah, both of us saw it, and
What is there above the bathroom?
It was used like when they're doing a production in the big room. It was used to store their costumes and whatever gadgets they needed there. And
So
it's
like a closet?
Yeah, and it is not big enough. I don't know whether there are lots of structures. I don't know whether they could be made widened or not.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, there's some real challenges to changing that staircase. The irony is that the bathrooms are wonderful.
They are.
You simply can't get to them
Right.
if you have a mobility impairment. You know, I wonder, and this sounds like a kind of Weasley way to do things. I mean, if we inform Rob what our priorities are, and he can get back to us about, how the how he or the planning department or whatever is approaching this grant. I don't know, because a lot of times it seems they sort of do what they want to do anyway.
I think a lot of the time they end up flying by the seat of their pants and doing whatever they can figure out at the last minute. And that's where we are again. That's my impression. But
we end up with less than we want, but at least we can say these are our two top priorities, and it really depends on what, is it really going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to have an accessible bathhouse at Mill River? I have no idea, is it going to cost 100,000 for a stair lift? That doesn't seem likely to me. I don't.
Okay, all I know is in residential, this is absurd, but in residential, they tell you to put in a bathroom, half bath from scratch, $20,000. Full bath from scratch, $40,000. Just one bathroom in a house for one person. It's insane how expensive it is.
But
And that's, that doesn't even have to be, they don't have laws that govern that. We don't have to deal with the outside and the plumbing and all that. So this is going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. At least 150 would be my guess.
I don't know, and I really have to go, but
yeah. So what should we tell Rob? We should tell him that we're interested in the stairs, we're interested in Mill River bathroom, and we would like to know the feasibility of putting a bathroom on the possibility of what it would cost to put a bathroom on the first floor of Munson Library. Is that right? I mean, we don't have a vote, correct? I mean, we don't have a consensus.
We have a consensus that we have two top priorities.
Okay. Okay. All right, we'll go there.
Nothing, but
I'll send him a note and I'll tell him this is what we talked about and this is what we would like to we'd like them to apply for something that would be shovel ready, as they say.
I wonder if there is an argument that Rob can make, because we actually will not need all this money to finish the project of the, what they're working on right now. With the leftover money, can it be put like advance toward the project to support the project of the lift and the bathroom issues?
Has to be spent by the end of June.
But I mean, could they do a little flexibility that it
No.
is be applied for that? Okay.
They're never flexible with the time. They can't be flexible with the time.
So
they could be potentially flexible with what we want to spend it for. Like if Rob asked them and said, we need a study and we need the study by the end of June about what we do, how we can make it possible to get downstairs, then the town can pay for it. I mean, that we could do. Like they pay for the study and the town pay for the installation. If the study is done by the end of June, frankly, it doesn't have to be that much of a study. I mean, none of us got that. I mean, you have 6 weeks, right? Seems to me you could come up with more than a study, but
I gotta leave, but good luck, folks.
all right, we need a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody going to motion to adjourn?
Yes, I move that we adjourn.
Okay, I need a second.
I second.
Okay. All right. This was too big an agenda. All right. I'll send a note to Rob.
Okay. Thank you.